In this video, we are going to talk about using variables to write equations. So remember, a variable is a letter like D or P or H or T or S that takes place of a number, takes the place of a number. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to use letters like L. That looks like a 1. Or an X. That looks like a multiplication symbol, right? And if you make your T, you don't want it to look like a plus or an addition symbol, so you might want to make it with a bit of a tail on it, like that. Alright? Also, don't do B's. B's sometimes look like 6s. Okay. Here we have a problem to solve. John Luke opened a package of 20 pencils. He gave out some pencils. There were 6 pencils left. How many pencils did John Luke give out? That's a lot of information. So the first thing I do is I look at the last sentence, because that always tells us what we're trying to find out. How many pencils did John Luke give out? So we want to know how many pencils he gave out. Okay. Now we know that he opened a package of 20 pencils, so he started with 20. He gave out some of them, so we subtract some of them, and then he ends up with 6 pencils left. Now in this space here, I'm going to put the letter P. You know why? P for pencils. Exactly. Alright. 20 minus P equals 6. This is an equation, and now we get to solve it. But that's kind of tough to solve. 20 minus P equals 6. So I'm going to think about fact families and how else I could write this equation. So you know how else I could write this? I could write this as 20 minus 6 equals P. And remember that subtraction and addition are like brother and sister. So I could also write it as 6 plus P equals 20, and P plus 6 equals 20. Now when I look at those, which is the easiest to solve, the easiest equation? Well, this equation here only gives me one piece of information and not a second. This equation gives me two pieces of information. I think that'll be the easiest to solve. 20 minus 6 equals P. So P equals 14. That's our answer. John Luke gave out 14 pencils. And that's how we use a variable to write an equation. So remember, a variable and an equation is very important. The equation has to be equal on both sides of the equal sign. So here we have 4 plus h equals 12. Okay. Now if you think of the equation like a boat, I'm going to draw my boat. Alright, there's my boat. The equal sign represents that both sides of the equation have to be equal, or else the boat's going to tip. So over here we have 12, and over here we have 4 plus h. So we have to equal this out. We have to make sure that this side here equals this side here. So 4 plus h equals 12. What could h be? Well, if you think fact families, I could also write 4 plus h equals 12 as h plus 4 equals 12. I could also write it as 12 minus h equals 4, and 12 minus 4 equals h. Now, which one of these do you think is easiest to solve? Well, this equation here gives me one piece of information, but I'm missing the second. This one here gives me one piece of information. This one gives me one piece, But this one down here gives me two pieces of information. 12 minus 4. I bet I can solve that. 12 minus 4 is 8. So 8, h equals 8. Say that 3 times fast. H equals 8, h equals 8, h equals 8. It's pretty tough. And that's how we solve the equation, and using a variable to write the equation.